Hey everyone, I am so excited. We're in California and we're recording like a trio show, and we have just been chatting nonstop, which is the best part of Entrepreneurial Friends. And I'm so excited. Alli, Tori, hi.
Hi. I'm so excited for this.
I'm so excited for this, and I am so flustered because we have just been like three little musketeers, plus our friends Danny and Brienne that are here with us as well, just buzzing with happenings, big news, big changes, life milestones. And that was largely why I was not able to contribute anything to kickstart the conversation because I am awestruck with all the excitement going on. But how awesome that we get to just sit down and chat and bring everyone else along for the ride.
I love this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I listen to like podcasts of like mentors and friends, and like when they just get their like girls together and they just chat, like someone, was it you? You're like, this is kind of like The View. Like we're just going to like, we have kind of an idea of what we're going to talk about, but like anything could happen.
And don't worry, I will always be the friend that arrives with a bottle of rosé.
Yeah.
I'm still wondering where the rosé is.
Yeah.
It is 10 a.m.
Oh, shoot. Time difference. Well, we can all play off the East Coast, I think.
That's
Because you're from Canada, you know.
That's my
just
girl.
pretend like I'm from the East Coast today.
I love it. Okay, why don't we do a round of intros for anybody that like doesn't know? I know we've all been on each other's podcasts, but why don't we do a round of intros for people that don't know us? Alli, why don't you start us off?
Hello, everyone. Alli Arruda here, founder of Inspire and Move. You can find that on everywhere that you listen to podcasts. But I am the proud co-owner of Benchmark Fitness in downtown Burlington, Ontario. We are a luxury boutique gym and recovery facility because my husband, Matt, and I have really been leaning in hard to upgrading and expanding our space and our offerings. And so that is always where you find me by day. And then in sort of the afternoon, evening, you'll find me hosting events, curating events, really passionate about building community and growing my personal brand, Inspire and Move.
Alli runs the most fun events. She has one, by the time this is out, it'll be long done, but like one next week where there's like a workout. It's at a car dealership, yes?
Not just any car dealership.
That's yeah,
you got to name drop that one for sure.
Yeah. They're next level.
Yeah, last year we went and the thing about Alli, I need to just say this really publicly, and then you can introduce yourself, Tori. But like the thing about Alli is that if she invites you to work out and she says it's easy, it's not. I just like want to tell you, it's not easy. It's challenging, which is important and great, but maybe not what everyone's expecting at all times. So we went. We test drove some cars, we ate some wonderful snacks, and then we did a very challenging workout. And I found new parts of my body that could hurt. I didn't know.
You know what? I found a hack to this.
Tell me.
She messaged me this morning at like 7 o'clock and she said, hey, going for a workout because, you know, we're staying over there at the resort and staying at the same place. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I show up like 40 minutes later.
Yes.
So her and Matt are actually walking out of the gym. And then I'm like, I'm just going to do a couple lifts.
Yes.
You know? So you have to find that hack when you're with a fitness enthusiast like Alli.
So I will
just don't get
be
your butt
managing my expectations that when I tell Kristina that an event starts at 6, that she'll arrive at maybe at 6:50.
Yeah, that's a hack, girl.
8:30. You need to protect yourselves. You need to protect yourselves out there. But Alli runs the most amazing events, and yeah, me and Maria like love to go to them. So yeah, what about you, Tori?
Yeah.
You want to do a little intro?
Hey everyone, I'm Tori Kruse. I own a fashion media brand. We focus on wardrobe styling and also have a podcast called The Tori Kruse Show. So I am so excited to be here with you guys. I'm not going to take up too much time on the intro, but I just love working with women and helping them infuse confidence into their fashion, into their styling, and just, you know, feeling worthy of becoming that next version of you that you've always wanted to become, and it's already inside of you, right? Mm-hmm. So excited to be here, and we're just going to have the best conversation ever.
Yay, love it.
I'm Kristina. I am the host of the Community Podcast, where we talk all things business and community. I co-own and run the Social Snippet, which is a social media podcast agency where we work with entrepreneurs to help them build community online. That's like kind of my thing. And then also like my side hustle, which is like so funny because it's not a side hustle, is we run events in Canada under the brand name High Vibe Women, where we bring entrepreneurial women together. We just ran a 140-person event a few weeks ago, which was magical. Alli was there, which is great. Alli has some stuff in store for our March event, which I'm excited about. But yeah, I'm just so excited. I think all three of us are so passionate about, one, like building community, but also really building community for women, like, and helping women grow their confidence as entrepreneurs, because I think that that's such a need, no matter like what field these women are in.
Well, what's really cool is how we all met. And I think that is another sort of segment to our intros of how we all met through really amazing entrepreneurs in rooms that they have either curated or are a part of. I mean, Tori and I talked about this when we did the Inspire and Move episode for our podcast interview of how we met at a Brendan Bouchard Growth Day event, but we were set up like almost like matchmaker set up by Lori Harder.
Yeah.
And then we, you know, connected on text. And then as soon as Tori walked into the room, I was like, that's Tori Kruse for sure. She's a stylist. That bombshell in this like beautiful yellow dress, 100% that's Tori. And Kristina, you and I met in Chris Harder's roundtable. Yeah. And Tori, I don't even know if you know this, but I love this part of the story, how the roundtable was a 2-day event. At the end of day 2, we're all getting ready to take a group photo. And Kristina goes up to Matt, who we share the last name, Arruda. And she's like, hey, do you know Nicole Arruda? And Matt looked at her kind of perplexed. He's like, you mean my sister?
No way.
They went to school together.
They're the same age, yeah. Yeah,
it's such a small world.
So such a small world, which is like such a reminder too of like when you're building your community, you have no idea like when, who, where people are going to serve you at different times, like where your next client's going to come from, your next connection, somebody that's going to impact you. Like there's been all these different seasons where people have impacted me in ways I haven't expected, that have come totally out of the woodwork.
And it's another reminder to always be kind.
Yeah.
You know, because you never know. You always want to be, you know, watch what you say,
Yes.
always be a nice person, because you never know what could unfold in terms of the relationship capital, the connections, you know, so-and-so knows so-and-so's connected to so-and-so. And it kind of goes back to, you know, building that relationship capital, but also building, growing, nurturing your network.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, that's why we're all here too in the same place. I mean, we're flying in from all different parts of the country, world, North America, we'll say, right? But this is why we're here, is like to develop that like connection and relationship capital with networking through the dinner series here with Chris and Lori. And it's so cool. It's like a reunion every time, you know,
Totally.
you start to build those relationships and it's just like, all right, the band's back together. I walked in here today. I'm like, the band's back together.
Yeah.
You know, it starts to feel like family, but it's so beautiful when you can actually do life and business together. And just when you continually nourish and nurture those relationships, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Alli and I were just having a conversation on the way over here just about some different opportunities about how small the world is. I mean, a gal's here from Australia that I'm meeting with later today. And it's like, you know, she's probably going to be sitting here in one of these seats next time we're here.
Yeah.
So it really goes to show, like, you have to just always be kind, Alli, right? Like, be kind, but just like also be outgoing in the sense of, that's why I always talk about with fashion. It's like you have the conversation starter on your body, and that's how we met. Well, through Lori, but then having those conversation starters as wardrobe pieces even on your body, because it strikes up that conversation. Then you have that confidence and you meet those people and you get to talk about your purpose and your passions. And then it's just like, it's a trickle effect.
We say that a lot too and when I say we, I'm referring to Matt and myself when we talk about the discipline of exercise and how that is also a bit of an extension to personal development and wanting to train, you know, your mind, your body, your physical fitness, mental fitness, emotional fitness, and having that as an extension of your discipline, which then, okay, so it's like your body and how you train that, and then the clothes that you put on your body and how that makes you feel. And this all ties back to where Kristina was going with the confidence piece. And then you add those people in your circle, in your network, and how that contributes to your confidence and the conversations that you have and how that makes you feel, how that makes you think. Matt and I were about to have a glass of wine together before dinner last night in the lobby of the beautiful resort that we're staying at right now. And our friend Mike Lagori, your friends as well, he pops down and we just sort of, you know, haven't seen him in a few months, excited to see him and invite him to join us. And if we haven't even ordered anything yet, come sit with us. And there we are like 2.5 hours later and we're having the most expansive conversation. And it's just this incredible reminder of what comes from these beautiful relationships, these confident relationships, and people that have that confidence where you can just bounce ideas and expansion opportunities off of one another.
How do you ladies think if somebody doesn't have the confidence to go out and network, create these relationships, because they can be intimidating sometimes, especially in different atmospheres, how do you think people can develop that confidence?
I feel like it's a muscle. Like it's like one of those things that you need to just try over and over again. Like I get asked this a lot because I do like quite a bit of networking through my business and I get like a lot of really cool speaking opportunities lately. And I've been like, you know, I feel like I looked at my Marriott app the other day and I was like, on the spend on hotels, like I was like gasp. But it's such a reminder of like how many times I've gotten to go do really cool things. But that's like a former me dream, right? Like me 3 years ago wouldn't have felt confident enough to, you know, apply to speak somewhere, or, you know, even thinking about some of the people who I'm connected with or who I'm friends with now, those probably wouldn't have been the people that I would have felt comfortable being like, hey, I'd love to grab a coffee. Like, do you have the time? And I think one of the things that I always encourage people, if they're having trouble like building those relationships, or they feel they're like lonely, or they don't have that network, is like lead with value. And that's something I don't feel like a lot of people do, where if I want to build a relationship with someone, I'm the person to invite them for lunch. I'm the person who will say, lunch on me. I really want to have that like opportunity to connect with you. If I want to get to know someone better, like I'm the person who will make it work for them. Like, you know, I'll go to where they are. Or like, I remember when I had Chris on my podcast, like early on, when my podcast was just getting started, I was so nervous to ask him. And I was like, hey, would you be interested in maybe being on my podcast? I would love to have you. And I happen to be in Arizona for this thing that got canceled. So like now I'm just in Arizona, and like I would love to, but like totally okay if not, but like be great if you can, but like also okay, like totally understand if you don't want to do it. And he was like, yeah, no problem. Like, you know, and I chose a place that was close for him, and like made it really easy, and came well prepared, and sent a thank you after. And all of those things I think are huge for like building that rapport with people. But also like when you lead with value, people want to follow, and they want to reciprocate and keep building. That's been my experience.
Kristina, you have shared this before on your episode, or your show, pardon me, and I know this story, but I feel like for all of us, I think even just in the conversation, tell everyone what you did after you went to the Fast Foundations Mastermind and how you led with value there. Because I think this is a really great story for people to hear and take note of. And before you sort of share that, I also want to say, I think, you know, not to glaze over what you said about asking to take someone for lunch, or to take someone for a coffee or a glass of wine. I think I couldn't agree with you more that is such a wonderful way to get in someone's orbit that you admire or you want to spend time with. I would shy away from, I'd love to pick your brain. I think that is like an alarm where you're like, oh God, no, I don't want to spend my time with you, just, you know, transparently. That just doesn't sit well with me. I think inviting them for a lunch, coffee, glass of wine, being fully prepared to pick up the tab for whatever it is, because you are valuing that person's time, and being respectful of their time, that, you know, a glass of wine isn't 3 hours, that maybe it's an hour, and go prepared. I think these are all things that are great takeaways for people. But I would love for you to share that story about what you did with the Fast Foundations crew.
Yeah, and just quickly before I forget this, I was going to say too, if you get the opportunity to meet with somebody who you're like, I would love to pick their brain, and I've just lured them into a coffee, don't use that as the opportunity then to pick their brain. You know what I mean? If you use it as the relationship opportunity. Like I've had so many times where I've had, you know, it was even funny when we got to go to Lori and Chris's lake house. Lori and I were alone at one point, and I had like kind of asked her a business question, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just asked you that. Like, and she was like, no, we can chat. Like, we're good. Like, we're friends. Like, it's fine. And I was like, I just don't want you to feel like I'm taking advantage of you. And like, it's just, you know, the timing, like, I just like, it's meant to be casual. Like, and obviously friendship and business, you talk about these things. We talk about business and we talk about life and all of these things. But I just would never want somebody who I'm meeting with in that way to ever feel taken advantage of. So really just like leading with relationship, and that will open the opportunity for you to ask questions and for you to actually learn just through the relationship, which I think is actually like more impactful than you peppering someone with questions. Because I've seen this happen before, I think, like especially on the agency side, where people will be like, you've built like such a cool agency, I'd love to pick your brain. And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy for you to pick my brain. And then they'll send me like 400 questions, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really overwhelming for me. But I would rather just like build the relationship. But on the Fast Foundations front, I like to this day, I think that mastermind like built our business. Like I'm still so grateful. Danny and Brian, who are here, who are filming, are friends from Fast Foundations. Like I feel like family, like that original group. I always say, I'm like, there's probably like 20 people in there that are like ride or die humans. But there was an online component to it during COVID, and that was the first thing Maria and I had ever invested in. So it was like, I think it was $6,000 American, maybe a little less. But it was like, I remember being like, we have 8 clients. Like, I don't know that this feels like a good investment, but I begged Maria to do it, and Maria and I did it. And there were about 150 people in that room. And so we would meet like kind of like every other week. There was this like super active Facebook community. Like you couldn't even keep up with it. It was like nuts. People were posting like any thought they ever had in there. It was so wild. And I posted in there being like, hey, I'd love to give a free social media audit to anybody who wants one. And people were like, oh, sure. And then they'd get on this social media audit call, and I would never pitch them. Never. I'd be like, hey, just looking over your Instagram, here's some things I would change. I saw you showed up in your stories like that. That's awesome. But like from a sales perspective, try this. This is a new feature that people are rolling out. Actually, I don't think you should actually be on Instagram. You should be on LinkedIn. Here's why. And that led to more work than actually we could handle, and really like grew a referral base. I still get referrals from that room. It's been almost 4 years. Like I'm still getting referrals from that room often. People who I forgot existed sometimes will message me and be like, I was thinking about you. I was talking about you, like whatever. But it's because I led with a lot of value. I didn't lead from a spot of, oh my gosh, there's 150 people in here. What a meat market. This is awesome. I can sell to all of these people. It was like I led from a place of like, I'm just looking to build relationships and like, let's see what happens. And I did Fast Foundations a few times after that, ended up coaching in it. And that room like has been such a foundation for like what we built. But so much of that was because we were willing to lead and go first and provide value, which I think sometimes isn't people's priority when building a business. It's very self-serving. I don't know. That's been my experience. I don't know about you guys, if you agree.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you just always have to lead with value. Otherwise, it gives people the ick.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, there's some people that are super salesy and they're like, all right, they like go in for the punch. But I think as a whole, most people love just like the genuine relationship building, adding value aspect of business. Right. And I want to add something too, actually, before we go like to a kind of different point of networking, we talked about this right before actually we came. We were talking about the outfits for the dinner series.
Yes, yeah.
And you respect people's time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part, that you're talking about with Lori. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I asked you a business question when we're here at the lake house and having a great time. But like when you sent me a text about your outfit, the very first thing was like, you want to be very respectful of my time because this is what I do for a living.
Totally.
Although we're very good friends.
Yeah.
But the fact that you said that, and I think I even mentioned that in the text, I was just like, I honor and like, I love that you said that because although I would give you fashion advice for the rest of my life because I love you and you're my friend.
Yeah.
The fact that I think respecting people's time is so important. Whether, you're giving that free value of like, hey, I'll do a free social audit for you guys. But just the acknowledgement, giving value and honoring and respecting other people. I don't care what level of business you're at. Everybody respects that in return.
Well, something I really noticed about the Elite Mastermind, so I've been in Chris's mastermind this year, which I've loved and can't say enough good stuff about, is people pay each other in there. You give a lot of value to people. People ask me social media questions all the time, and I'm so happy to answer them. But they all hire each other. And why? And that's been key to a lot of the masterminds that I'm in, where it's like, you show enough expertise that people know what you're saying. The minute that I'm like, hey, I'm going to like revamp my wardrobe or whatever this, I'm going to hire somebody to choose an event outfit for me, you're first on my list. Like, it's like immediately it goes like that, right? Because you've built rapport and I've seen you and you like, and even when I messaged you, I was like, hey, I'm buying this outfit. I don't know. This is nuts. Also don't want you to feel abused. So if this is overstep, let me know. But in the same way, if I wanted a personal training plan, I would buy it from Alli.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I would go to Alli, and we've talked about stuff like this too, where it's like when Alli has an event, I buy a ticket to it. Yep. And like that's support. And I think it can look different in different ways. And of course we all do favors for each other. And that's like the beauty of entrepreneurship and relationships and connection. But I think when we have that expectation of other people that they like do free things for us, there's a misalignment in the energy around business, in my opinion. And it causes, I even see this with trades. Lots of people do trades. I'm not really that into trades.
I'm not either. I thought I was going to be at first, but I'm not either.
Yeah. And like I see that a lot with, especially I think you could probably speak really well to this, but like you see a lot with like local businesses, like brick and mortars and stuff, which Alli owns a brick and mortar. But it's like, I've had people recently be like, oh, like I'll give you this. And like, could you do my social media? And I'm like, it was actually a local restaurant. They reached out and they were like, what if we give you like a tab and you do our social media? And I was like, I can't eat enough of this food to make this worth it. Like, and not from a financial perspective. It's like, I just don't want to be disappointed. And I don't want you to be disappointed. And that's a recipe for disappointment. So why don't we just like, I'll pay for this pizza or whatever this is. It wasn't pizza, but I'll pay for this. And why don't you just pay for your social media and we'll just call it a day. And then we're happy with the energy exchange. So I don't know, Alli, if that's too.
It's tidy that way. And I mean, I find this also in brand partnerships. If you want to have very clear, it's actually anything in life. You want to have clear communication. What are your expectations? Okay. And then what are your expectations, and how that is going to work in your business relationship, the relationship capital between the two parties, and being able to respect one another to, exactly to your point, Kristina, feel energetically aligned, because you don't want to feel like you're being taken advantage of. That's certainly something that I've experienced, or Matt and I have experienced in business, whether it's with trades or a brick and mortar, because we're, a small business as a single location gym versus, Equinox that has multiple locations. Someone asked us actually on Instagram yesterday when we were traveling that did not a member. They want to come to the gym, and they were going to do partner training, like a single non-member partner training session, because they are visiting Burlington, Ontario, but didn't actually want to pay the full price. They pitched me on a different price. I was like, I'm so sorry. My eyes must not be working to have read this incorrectly. And thankfully, we then had about a 5-hour flight, which was silence in the DMs, which made them realize probably that was quite silly. But it is so interesting how some people think, and I think even kind of coming back to the idea of personal development and working on like mental fitness, emotional fitness, and of course, yes, physical fitness, that you exercise this muscle, this confidence muscle to everything that we've been talking about so far, that it is something that you build and you work on. And it does take work. It often takes investments in courses, in mentors, in rooms, and then being able to put all of that into practice by how you go about in your business relationships and fostering new relationships and new connections and respecting everyone's time and business.
I will kind of piggyback off that when it comes to, I just want to make note, if there's any new entrepreneurs who are listening, that I do think if you're just starting your business, I do think the trades are important sometimes, because not all the time when you just start, like if you're a very fresh entrepreneur, we've all had our companies for some time now. So we're not as much about the trades as much as the relationship capital, and also paying for our friends, events and things like that. But if you are just starting out, like you're very fresh in entrepreneurship, I do think trades are important in that sense. Just because you might not be able to afford one another's things, or you need help with your social media, but then you're also, you're needing a training, you need to get your health on track. And it's like, okay, if you're in that space, I personally think it's okay. Do you guys agree with that? Or do you think even at the very beginning of entrepreneurship, you're like, no, we're not doing trades?
I think it's about expectation. I think Alli was about to say the same thing. Like, it's like, I think it's about expectations. And like, I think anything in business, like when because I'm such a relationship girl when it comes to business. Like my husband's always like, these people aren't your friends. And I'm like, these people know me better than my parents. Like, I'm like, he just doesn't understand. Josh is going to edit this, but Josh is like very new to this like idea that you could have work friends that feel like family, like where you can exchange money and it be like so soul connected. And I would almost always rather preserve a relationship than I have thrown away thousands of dollars because I'm like, oh, that's not worth the relationship. Like, I'm not going to ruin a relationship. And Alli and I are a great example of this. Like, Alli's a client of the Social Snippet, and like we like do these check-ins where I'm like, you feel good about your investment? Like, are you happy with what you're doing? You're like, yeah, I feel great, and I made you an awesome referral. And I'm like, great, I'd love to pay you for this referral. Like, we have a lot of really good conversations, and I think that keeps everything very clear and the expectations very clear. And I think if you can do that, there's a lot of good stuff that comes from that.
That's so good. Okay, I just have to point out for a second what you just said, though, about the check-ins.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, though, because you have a really deep friendship, but then you're also a business friendship, too. So having those check-ins, that is really valuable. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that, so I really like that.
Well, especially if you're building a business where relationships at the forefront, you actually build, like, a lot of my clients, I have this, like, friendship with, and naturally you are like, hey, you become friends with this person, and then all of a sudden you need social media. You're gonna go get it from someone else? Like, probably not, right? You're probably gonna want to work with me or like my team, and that's great. And so for me, it's like the core of it is, I'll give you an example. We have a client we do some copywriting for, which is a podcast client, but we do some copywriting for. And we had a bit of like a team movement. One of my team members moved on, which was awesome for her. And there was like a misunderstanding around hours because this new team member took a little bit of more time. And so my client emailed and said, hey, like, I love working with you, but like this invoice was surprising to me. I was like, take the hours off. take the hours off. That is not worth the relationship to me. It's not. If there was a surprise there, that's on me for not communicating that. And I'm so sorry. I'll eat that because it's so much more worth the relationship for me than it is $250, $300. Like, it's just not worth it. And I think that's why those check-ins are so important. And I always, like, when I start working with friends, and I encourage people to do the same, I have conversations where I say, like, our relationship is so much more important than anything we're going to be doing together here in business. So, like, I want you to be honest. If you're not happy, I want you to be honest. And hopefully you are, and people love working with my team, which is great. But it's like, I always want to keep that open. So
I totally agree. And I think with check-ins, but also taking things as lessons, you know, what you just shared, Kristina, about the transition with your team and how your client and friend, I should say, that, you know, that's a lesson where now if that happens again, Kristina will have this lesson of like, you know what, I'm actually just going to give Tori a heads up that Alli is moving on to a different direction and we need maybe like a week of transition, whatever the situation may be. But I am such a firm believer because I've lived the experience and still am. I'm still in business. I'm always learning. We are always learning. That I will go through some of these experiences and understand like, okay, that was a lesson. I need to have a better conversation, or I need to understand like, what is it that you're looking for? Because I have done a lot of trades and I still do, but that's also kind of, there could be a gray line between Alli Arruda of Inspire and Move and my personal brand and audience online and my community for in-person events. But also, is there a gym membership that's also included from Benchmark Fitness, which are two separate companies. And so I always need to do my best part in a relationship of communicating that it's actually two separate companies. So I'm happy to work with you directly as my personal brand. And like, this is the content that would be included versus something that is specific to the gym when it comes to trades or, you know, whatever the relationship is. But having those clear conversations and constant communication. And I think the check-in is a great idea if that's new for people listening.
Thanks so much for listening to Community with me, Kristina Bartold, and I'm just so excited to continue the conversations. If you're looking to grow your community and learn more about social, join us at thesocialbusinessclub.ca and use the code podcast to get your first month for $1. Share this episode with your friends and on social, or leave a review. It means the world.